Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. This is the morning market review. My name is Russell Shaw. I'm a senior market specialist at FXCM. My email address is rshaw@fxcm.com. Today is Wednesday. It's the 25th. Just going to go ahead and bring up our disclaimers. Here's the high-risk investment warning. We'll go for about 15 minutes or so. Then we'll stop. We'll go through to the crypto minute because it's Wednesday. Next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, there is a live trade. We'll do a live non-farm payroll trade. I've set up the room, but I'll send out the link from next week. Here's our market commentaries disclaimer. I'll keep this on screen for a few moments. Just want to double check. Can you guys just the three yeses? Can you see me, hear me, and can you see the screen? Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, our references, market scope, and trading view. Let's just bring up trading view, and we've got the real rate. We're looking at a daily chart here. We've got the real rate on the top screen. That's the US 10-year real rate, 10-year minus the break even, and the dollar underneath. We've got a strong looking correlation between them, a slight break over here, but that's okay. Correlations don't hold permanently, they do ebb and flow as well. And what's interesting just ahead of the meeting is, of course, that we're getting a downtrend in the real rate. Okay, so you guys can see this, the downtrend here. And of course, with the downtrend in the real rate, dollar is coming down as well. So that kind of helps with our positioning, right? Because it tells us where the weaknesses in the market and the weaknesses in the greenback at the moment. That's important for us to take note because generally the dollar is a safe haven. So if there's not much money searching safety, well, then we should be looking at risk, okay, at the risk markets, which are effectively the stock markets and the majors against the dollar would certainly be something for us to keep an eye on. The Nasdaq is very sensitive to real rates. So what we'll do is, now we're looking at the daily chart, not the monthly chart, not the weekly chart. So we're quite close to price. What we'll do is we'll go through to, let's go down to the 4-hour here. Okay, and let's take a look at Nasdaq. This is the 4-hour is interesting. The positive correlation starting to reassert here. Okay, so it kind of lost correlation and starting to reassert. Let's go through to Nasdaq, take a look. And Nasdaq's been quite strong since Friday. We'll take a look at it in a moment in more detail. Okay, let's just change up the correlation. All right, so we're on the positive side. It's lower than what I would like. It's at 21%, but it's in very odd. Okay, I thought it'd be on the negative side. Let's just go to the daily chart here. The daily chart here is more what I was expecting. So if we're coming down to the daily, here is the real rate coming down. Here is the Nasdaq moving up. So there's an inverse relationship. Very strong negative 82%. Very strong 82% there on the negative side. So real rate coming down, Nasdaq moving up. Why I think this is something to keep an eye on, is we're in the blackout period now for the Fed, so we're not getting any more Fed speak. We're getting closer to the next rate hike, which is not going to be this Wednesday, which is today, but it will be in a week's time, right? It'll be on the 1st of February, which is in a week's time. And then we want to hear what the press conference, the press commentary, and the FOMC statement says with regards to further rate hikes. It's quite likely that we're getting pretty close to the end of the rate hiking cycle here. And if we're getting pretty close to the end of the rate hiking cycle, that's what the market is discounting at the moment. What's a blackout period? So a blackout period, there's no more information coming out of the Fed. Okay, it's not when they take a holiday. It's when there is no communication coming from the Fed now. Okay, so all the speakers ended last week. Now there is now they don't talk until after the rate announcement. That's the blackout period. Okay, so there seems to be some sort of expectation as we head towards next Wednesday, right? So the 4 hour, this was a bit odd. Okay, just want to take a look. Let's see if we can put a little bit more sense to what's happening here. So what you can see is that it's actually on the wrong side of the correlation, but it's moving back towards zero. In my opinion, probably going to cross below and realign with the daily. Okay, in other words, we're heading back towards the negative area. That makes sense when we go back to the US dollar. Let's just make sure I don't lose you guys. Going back down to the 4 hour. Okay, so we go back down to the 4 hour, and you can see that there has been some sort of breaking correlation. It's now looking to reassert. It's moving towards that zero line. The question is, does it cross below and head back towards negative? I expect it would. How come? Let's go back to the US dollar. Okay, bring up the US dollar. Now we've got to link up the correlation. Okay, let's not forget to do the correlation as well. Okay, linking up to the FXCM US dollar basket. And you can see the US dollar basket is starting to just reassert its positive correlation. So if the US dollar is starting to reassert its positive correlation, perhaps it's leading the NASDAQ to reassert its negative correlation. I hope you guys understand that. If there's any questions around that, type those through. I'll take a look at the questions in a moment. But that's what's happening as we're heading towards the all-important Fed meeting next week. Okay, let's go through to our charts over here. And now we're on market scope. On market scope, let's take a look at the US dollar. US dollar, this is now on a daily basis. US dollar sitting in zone 3. Zone 3 is our bearish area between the lower blue, lower red. Okay, so we've seen the dollar moving downwards. Why is it moving downwards? Because the real rate is moving downwards. Why is the real rate moving downwards? Because it seems we're getting to the end of the rating cycle. Why are we getting to the end of the rating cycle? So you can see there's a chain here. So it's because we are now getting to the point of, well, are we pushing too hard? And we really going to inflict a harder landing than is necessary, as opposed to going into that softer landing recession. Take a look at the stochastic here. The stochastic's under 20 and it's holding. So the dollar momentum is at the moment firmly down, isn't it? It's firmly down. Now let's go through to NASDAQ. Okay, what do we have here? Well, we've got NASDAQ in zone 1. That's the bullish area. That's between the upper red and the upper blue. Okay, what's happening to its momentum? Okay, the momentum here is holding in the upper quintile. It's above 80. As long as we're holding that upper quintile, okay, as long as we're holding there, there's an underlying bullish momentum. Now let's just go back to dollar. So we're doing the crosses between, we're crossing between dollar, Nasdaq, trying to line up. They should have sort of equal but opposite type of signals here. So let's go back to the dollar. All right, and we want to go down to the hourly chart here. Let's just see what's happening on the hourly chart. All right, so there seems to be some sort of increase up in the dollar. So let's see if we can come up with some sort of potential tactic. Okay, I'm just bringing up Microsoft Paint, and I'll explain to you the way that I'm going to be looking at the markets. So it seems as if the dollar reasserting its correlation. Okay, is that going to help us? Well, price never moves in a straight line. It tends to zig and zag. We know that the primary trend is showing pressure to the downside, but we also know that on the lower time frames, we've got these zigs, zags. It looks as if dollar is trying to push up now. So is it going to push up towards a resistance area? And are we able to take advantage of the resistance? Okay, round about there. So let's go back to the dollar. Well, you can see where the resistance is. It's all at the central pivot here. You can see that it's been chewing sideways for quite a long time now, for the last, since the 12th of January. It's moving now through to the central pivot, and you can see, let's put in all the points of polarity, right? So we've got support, 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 try to break through, support, try to break through, becomes resistance, right? So the central pivot here is something that we can keep an eye on. Why do we want to keep an eye on it? Because it looks as if we're reasserting, okay, that correlation coefficient. Not only are we looking to reassert that correlation coefficient, when I say reassert, I'm talking with the real rate. Okay, that's what we looked at right at the beginning. But we can see that we're sitting right in the bearish channel here with a very obvious bearish momentum. Okay. Yeah, the FOMC blackout period. Okay. All right. So FOMC blackout period. Okay. Generally, do not speak publicly between a week prior to the Saturday preceding a Federal Open Market Committee meeting from Anna. All right. So let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Similar analysis here. Okay. We've got this bullish channel here. It looks as if when we looked at that 4-hour, it was on the wrong side of the correlation, but it looks like it's coming back to zero. Taking cues from the dollar, the question, I think a legitimate question, are we going to push into that negative correlation? In other words, as the real rates feel that pressure, because we're heading towards what I suspect would be the end of that hiking cycle, is there points where we can exploit? Going through to the hourly chart here. Okay, so we've got the pullback. Okay, we've got the pullback. Let's put in the support. So we've pulled back all the way to S2, just about, and take a look at this. Okay, a nice resistance turn support here. Okay, now we want to just keep an eye on the crossovers of the EMAs. Okay, and we want to see that angle in separation to the upside. We can see the stochastic starting to push up. Okay, starting to push up as well. And again, Nasdaq now in that bullish area with that strong momentum. Let's go back to Microsoft Paint. Okay, similar analysis here. We know that the pressures to the upside, but on the lower time frames, we're never going to be moving in a straight line. We're going to be zigzagging. I'll try to get my polarity here. So you can see the polarity here is drawn better on this this diagram. Is pulled back towards the resistance turn support. Now, okay, this is the area that we want to try and take advantage of. Going back, okay, going back. You can see we're getting the potential crossover here. Now, do I know for a fact this is going to move up? Of course I don't. Okay, the market's going to do what the markets are going to do. So don't take this as a buy and advice. It's certainly not. It's something to add to the watch list. If we get the crossover, it's only going to work out if we get to the upper quintile and hold. All the magic happens when the momentum kicks in. When does the momentum kick in? Kicks in at the extremes. Okay, so here you can see an extreme level on the stochastic. There's no such thing as overbought on stochastic, no such thing as oversold. This is where the magic happens. You can see what a terrific move on the Nasdaq. This was actually telegraphed. We've been looking at Nasdaq since Friday, and you can see it's pushed up. Here's the 1, 2, 2, 3. Are we getting the reversal up here? Go back to the Microsoft. 1, 2, 2, 3. Are we getting the leg up now? So you can see these are really good questions, and that's why it's worth adding these to your watch list. All right, we're getting to the top of the hour, so we're going to conclude here, and we'll go through to our crypto minute. We'll take a look at Bitcoin. Just before we change over, are there any questions? Please go ahead and type. If there's any questions, happy to address those. Okay, nothing coming through. So what we'll do is we shall conclude at this point, and we'll continue with the crypto minute in the next few moments. Hey Raj, nice to see you on the webinar. Yep, speak to you tomorrow. All right, concluding and crossing over.